Picture this, a regular Tuesday afternoon. I'm at home, finishing up some work when suddenly my phone rings. An unknown number flashes on the screen, and curiosity gets the better of me. I answer, and the voice on the other end of the line is eerily familiar. It's my voice, a perfect duplicate, a mirror of my own. Now, I'm a logical person, I believe in the tangible, but this was something else. The voice, or should I say my voice, spoke with urgency. It warned me about an event that was set to happen later that day. A car, a red one, would narrowly miss hitting me as I crossed the road on my evening walk. The call ended abruptly, leaving me in a state of bewildered disbelief. I tried to shrug it off, chalk it up to a prank call or a weird coincidence. But as the day wore on, the warning gnawed at the back of my mind. So come evening, I decide to change my route, just to be safe. As I walk down this unfamiliar path, I see it, a red car speeding towards the crosswalk where a pedestrian, oblivious to the danger, is about to step onto the road. I shout, I wave, I do anything to get their attention. The pedestrian freezes, the car swerves, and the accident is narrowly avoided. And just like that, I was left standing there, heart pounding, replaying the events of the day in my mind. It was exactly as the voice, my voice, had described. The red car, the near miss, everything. I couldn't help but wonder, was this a warning from a future me, a glitch in the matrix, or just an uncanny coincidence? But if it was a coincidence, it was one that saved a life that day. And just like that, I was left wondering, was it a glitch in the matrix, or was it just an uncanny coincidence? Now imagine driving on a road that you've traveled on hundreds of times before, but this time it just doesn't end. That's exactly what happened to me. A familiar route, one I could navigate with my eyes closed, turned into a surreal, never-ending journey. What should have been a 2-hour drive stretched into an eternity, a road that led to nowhere. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon. The sun was high in the sky, the radio was playing my favorite tunes, and I was cruising along at a comfortable 60 miles per hour. But as the minutes turned into hours, I realized something was off. The same landmarks kept reappearing. The old oak tree at the bend, the red barn on the hill, the broken-down signpost. They looped around again and again like a broken record, yet I never turned around, never took a different turn. The road ahead was as straight as an arrow, a never-ending path into the unknown. I tried calling for help, but my phone had no signal. I switched off the radio, but the silence was deafening. I was trapped in my car, alone on a deserted road with nothing but my thoughts for company. The feeling of isolation was suffocating. The growing sense of unease turned into outright panic. I felt like the protagonist of a horror movie, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. Yet, I kept driving, hoping against hope that I would finally reach my destination. But then, without warning, I found myself back at the starting point. The road that had seemed endless had abruptly come to an end. I was back in my town, parked right outside my house. The journey that had felt like a lifetime had only lasted a few hours. So, was I trapped in some sort of time loop, or was it all just a disorienting illusion? I still don't know. But one thing's for sure, I'll never look at that road the same way again. Have you ever had a friend who suddenly, without a trace, vanished from your life? That's exactly what happened to me. When I was a kid, I had this friend. Let's call him Jack. Jack and I were inseparable. We would spend every possible moment together, racing our bikes, playing video games, and even attempting to build a treehouse in my backyard. We were the best of friends, and then one day, he was gone. I remember it clearly. It was a Monday. I went to school expecting to see Jack in our usual spot by the old oak tree. But he wasn't there. I asked around, but nobody seemed to know where Jack was or even who Jack was. It was as if he had never existed. Confused and worried, I rushed home after school, hoping to find Jack there, maybe working on our unfinished treehouse. But he wasn't there either. I asked my parents about him, but they looked at me blankly, as if I was talking about a stranger. I ran to my room, frantically searching through my stuff for any evidence of Jack. A photo, a note, anything. But there was nothing. The strangest part was not just that Jack was gone. but that there was no evidence of him ever existing. His house, where we'd spent countless hours, was now an empty lot. Our school records had no mention of him. Even our shared memories seemed to have been wiped clean from everyone's minds except mine. I was left baffled and heartbroken. My best friend had vanished, and no one but me remembered him. I spent years questioning my sanity, wondering if Jack was real or just a figment of my imagination. But I remember him. I remember our friendship, our shared laughter, our dreams. So did he really exist, or was he just a figment of my imagination? This question still haunts me. Was it a glitch in the Matrix, or was it something else? I might never know the truth, but one thing is for sure, Jack. Wherever you are missed. What would you do if you saw yourself in a place you've never been to before? This question used to be a hypothetical for me, something I'd ponder during late-night philosophical discussions. But that changed one day when I was visiting a city I had never been to before. I was strolling around the bustling city center, taking in the sights and sounds of a place entirely new to me. As I rounded a corner, I saw a figure that made my heart skip a beat. Standing across the street was a man who looked exactly like me. He wore the same clothes I had on, the same quirky smile I often wore, even the same distinct walk I had. It was as if I was looking at myself from an outsider's perspective. I couldn't believe my eyes. Was I seeing things? Was this some sort of prank? I rubbed my eyes, pinched myself, but the figure remained, mirroring my confusion, with an equally baffled expression. I decided to approach him, to confront this eerie doppelganger of mine. But as I crossed the street, weaving my way through the crowd, he started moving away. I quickened my pace, trying to keep up. I called out, but my voice was swallowed by the city's noise. Just as I was about to reach him, he turned a corner, and by the time I got there, he was gone, vanished into thin air as if he had never been there at all. The incident left me shaken. I tried to rationalize it, to find a logical explanation, but nothing seemed to fit. Was it truly my doppelganger, or was it just a mind-boggling case of mistaken identity? It's a question that haunts me to this day, a mystery that remains unsolved. Perhaps it was a glitch in the Matrix, a glimpse into a parallel universe, or maybe, just maybe, it was a phantom of my own mind. Was it truly my doppelganger, or was it just a mind-boggling case of mistaken identity? Have you ever received a text message that you sent to yourself, but you have no memory of sending it? Strange, isn't it? But it happened to me. One day, I woke up to a text message from my own number. The text was a prediction about a minor accident I'd have later in the day. I laughed it off, thinking it was a prank by a friend. But to my surprise, the accident happened, just as predicted. A week later, it happened again. Another text, another prediction. This time, it was about running into an old friend at the grocery store. And you guessed it, later that day, I bumped into that very friend while picking up some apples. At this point, I was more than a little spooked. I contacted my phone company, hoping they could shed light on this mystery. But they were as baffled as I was. Their records showed no trace of these phantom texts. They couldn't explain how I was receiving messages from my own number, messages that I hadn't sent, messages that predicted the future. I began to wonder, was my phone possessed? Or was I somehow sending these messages to myself in my sleep? But none of these theories seemed plausible. After all, how do you predict the future in your sleep? As more texts arrived, each predicting mundane day-to-day events with eerie accuracy, my disbelief turned into fascination. I couldn't explain it, but I couldn't ignore it either. These messages were real. They were coming from my number, and they were predicting the future. I tried to respond to these texts, hoping to engage in some sort of conversation with this phantom texter, but I never received a response. The texts continued to arrive, unbidden and unexplained, each one a chilling glimpse into the future. In the end, I'm left with more questions than answers. Was my phone taken over by a psychic entity, or was it just a digital glitch that defies explanation? All I know for certain is that these phantom texts have changed the way I view the world and the way I view my phone. Now, these stories might sound unbelievable, but isn't it intriguing to ponder the mysteries of our reality? We've delved into some truly perplexing tales today, from an unforgettable encounter that defied the laws of time and space, to a road that seemed to stretch on forever, leading nowhere. We've heard about a friend who vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but questions. We've also explored the unsettling phenomenon of doppelgangers and the eerie story of phantom texts that appeared out of nowhere. Each of these accounts challenges our understanding of reality as we know it. They remind us that there's so much out there that's yet to be explained. Could these be glitches in the Matrix, as some suggest, or is there a more rational explanation waiting to be discovered? I encourage you to share your thoughts on these stories. Were they simply coincidences, or do they hint at something deeper? If you've experienced your own glitch in the Matrix, don't hesitate to share your story in the comments. We would love to hear from you. Now, if you've enjoyed this journey into the unknown, I invite you to join the Weird Reddit 111 community. We're on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and we would love your support. A huge thank you to our new subscribers and viewers. Your engagement helps us keep this channel alive and thriving, and we truly appreciate it. Our goal here at Weird Reddit 111 is to explore the unexplained, to challenge our perceptions, and to ignite our curiosity. So if you're intrigued by the mysteries of our universe, if you enjoy delving into stories that make you question the nature of reality, then this is the channel for you. And remember, the next time you experience something strange, it might just be a glitch in the Matrix. So stay curious, like, subscribe, and share the video for more fascinating stories. Until next time, keep exploring the unexplained. Have you ever placed something somewhere only to find it completely vanished when you look for it? This is exactly what happened to me not too long ago. One evening, after a long day of puzzling over the mysteries of the universe, I came home and placed my keys on the table just like I always do. Satisfied, I went to the other room to unwind. But when I came back, the keys were nowhere to be found. I was certain I had left them on the table. I searched high and low, under the table, in the drawers, even in my pockets, but the keys had just disappeared. I was on the verge of calling a locksmith when suddenly there they were, sitting on the table exactly where I had left them. It was as if they had been there all along. It was like they had vanished and then reappeared out of thin air. Was it a playful poltergeist messing with me, or just a lapse in my memory? The world may never know, but it certainly gave me a new story to ponder and share with all of you. So, the next time something of yours disappears without a trace, remember, it might just be another glitch in the Matrix. Imagine, if you will, sitting quietly at home when your phone begins to ring. Glancing at the screen, you see a familiar name light up, a name that makes your heart skip a beat. The name of a loved one who passed away years ago. This happened to me, and I am still grappling with the reality of it. One quiet afternoon, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID displayed my grandmother's name, a gentle soul who had left us many years prior. I was paralyzed for a moment, unable to comprehend the sight before me. But curiosity got the better of me, and I answered the call. The voice on the other end was unmistakably hers, warm and comforting, just as I remembered. She spoke to me, her words a soothing balm, her laughter a melody from the past. But just as quickly as it had begun, the call ended abruptly, leaving me in a state of shock and confusion. The line went dead, and all attempts to redial led to a disconnected number. Was it a supernatural occurrence, a glitch in the system, or just a cruel prank? It's a mystery that still gives me chills. So, the next time your phone rings and you see a familiar name on the screen, brace yourself. You never know who might be on the other end of the line. Perhaps it's just another glitch in the Matrix. Have you ever felt like you've stepped into a different time period? That's exactly what happened to me one sunny afternoon. I walked into a store in my neighborhood, one I had visited countless times before. But this time, something was off. The moment I stepped inside, I was greeted by the sight of vintage products neatly arranged on the shelves. The store, which usually stocked modern goods, was now filled with items that seemed to belong to a bygone era. The radio was playing an old tune, one that I recognized from my grandparents' record collection. The people inside the store were just as peculiar. Their attire, their mannerisms, everything about them seemed to be from a different time. The women wore flared skirts and the men sported fedoras. Even their conversations were filled with dated slang. It felt like I had stepped into a time machine and was transported back to the 1950s. The strangest part was when I stepped outside. As soon as I left the store, everything returned to normal. The people walking on the street were in contemporary clothing, and the sounds of the modern city filled my ears once again. I turned around to look at the store, half expecting it to have vanished. But there it stood, just as it always had. Did I step into a time warp, or was it just a cleverly themed store? I guess I'll never know. But it was an experience that left me questioning the fabric of reality. So the next time you walk into a familiar place and everything seems out of place, just remember, it might be a glitch in the matrix. Ever felt like you're not alone, even when there's no one around? That's what I started experiencing after the time slip incident. I'd be home alone, sitting in my living room, when I'd feel an inexplicable chill run down my spine, a feeling of being watched, of not being alone. It was as if an unseen presence had made itself at home in my house. Objects would move from their places when I wasn't looking. Doors would open and close on their own. I would hear soft whispers in the dead of the night, as if someone was having a hushed conversation in the next room. The eeriness of these occurrences was only amplified by the fact that they would cease the moment someone else came home. As if this unseen presence was aware of me, aware of my fear, and aware when it was no longer alone with me. Was it a ghostly visitor, or just my imagination running wild? Was it a fallout from my encounter with the time slip, or was my mind playing tricks on me? The truth remains hidden, but one thing is for sure, these experiences have left me with a heightened sense of the unknown, of the unseen. So the next time you are alone and feel an uncanny presence, remember, it might not be just your imagination.